All right, we're live and being
All
recorded.
right. Hello, everybody. This is Starkovich with Adventures in Health again. And today we are with Mark Squibb with Live O2. And we also have Ben Menefee, who is an Air Force veteran and has been training with the Live O2 system for about a year and a half now. Ben?
Maybe a little bit longer, yeah, but right in
A
that
little
area.
longer? Great. Okay, excellent. And I'll let the audience know a little bit about myself in case you haven't seen me. And Ben, you can hear my story here. I've served
All
14
right.
years in the military, United States Army, deployed 3 times with the 101st Airborne Division as an infantryman, sniper section leader, all that good stuff. Twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan, and did some government work afterwards with Department of State and Department of Defense. So been around, kind of seen the worst of the worst, and have seen what these deployments and these incidents and these head traumas can do to soldiers and sailors and Marines returning and airmen. So that's where I'm from. And I'm working with Adventures in Health, and we're trying to reduce the veteran suicide rate from 22 on average per day down to 0. It's a lofty goal, but we're heading in the right direction, and I think we're getting the right people to do that. So Ben, hey, tell the audience about yourself, who you are, and a little bit of
All
background on
right.
yourself.
All right. My name is Ben Menefee, 20-year veteran of the Air Force. After I retired, like yourself, I continued to do my service to the country and did it as a civilian. Went over to Afghanistan, and after I finished a 12 or 15-hour shift, went to the gym like I did every day. And while in the gym, the cable snapped, and it threw me backwards and smashed the right side of my head, causing a hemorrhage, leaving me paralyzed on my left side. So a freak accident, but it happens. I was told that there was a possibility I may never walk or speak again. I am speaking right now. I know you can't see me walk on the camera, but I hobble around. I get around. So I'm getting better. Still making progress. I'm 6 years
Awesome.
post. And they tell you the limit's 12 months, and after 12 months you'll never regain anything. I made more progress after my second year than I ever did the first 24 months.
Wonderful.
And I was on oxygen during that time. So is it a coincidence? I don't know. I don't have the scientific data that backs it. I just have my anecdotal story. So, but
Sure.
I started doing Live O2 and I haven't looked back. So I still do it today. And even as of yesterday, when I was in therapy, I was making progress. Or Tuesday. See what today's Thursday. Yeah. So for the first time in years, I was able with my left hand to grasp and let go over and over and over, with very little stimulation. So still making progress, 6 years post. So I'll be
Excellent.
quiet now. That's my story.
No, please, you're fine. And were you married, or what was your family situation like when at the point of
Yes.
injury?
I'm married, still married. And when I came out of my coma, and I was wondering why my parents and wife and kids were in Afghanistan. I lost that part of my life from Afghanistan to Walter Reed. I was
Right.
in a coma, yeah. So it was it
And
was a
so
little
at the
freaky.
point of injury, did you lose consciousness at the point of injury?
No, when I smashed my head, I got up. I finished my workout. I got on another machine. Then I went to the laundry point, dropped off my laundry, and I collapsed shortly after that. And I was found by one of my coworkers.
Wow.
And so they got me help, right?
And after you woke up from your coma and you realized that you were no longer in Afghanistan and your family was surrounding you, what did you feel? I mean, obviously there's some confusion, but
And that's the best word to
were
describe
you
it. Yeah,
just
I
very
was
very confused?
very confused. I I had to go to the bathroom really bad, so I told the corpsman there, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. Like, go ahead to go. I said, I'm not peeing in the bed. He said, you have a Foley. Go ahead, you're good. And I said, no, I'll walk to the bathroom. So I tried to roll out. They said, you can't walk. I'm like, well, crap, I was just walking a couple of minutes ago. So it took a while for me to realize and accept the fact that I was this way. Yes. So that went on for a little while before I accepted it, that I was paralyzed. So
And what kind of like emotional health issues,
Oh,
if any? Did you have outbursts? Were you angry? Were you like talk
oh,
us through how that affected you and ultimately really your
absolutely.
family
I
as
was
well?
I was angry at the world. My family were starting to step away from me because of the anger. I was on taking meds. I had PBA, which is a pseudo bulbar effect. There's commercials all over television about it now. Uncontrollable laughing and crying. You know,
Really?
I was sitting in a restaurant. The waiter would walk up, "Sir, would you care for a glass of water?" And I'd just start crying. No, and you can't control it. You're just. It was embarrassing not only to me but for my family. You know, so
Right. And really, like going through what I went through and then what manifested afterwards, short temper,
yeah,
just being a bitter person, everything like that. I know that's really hurt my family a lot. I mean, I'm doing repairs myself to this
right.
day. With my wife, they were walking around on eggshells around me. Was that something that your family experienced
Oh,
around you as well?
absolutely. Yeah, my wife
Okay.
was always telling me, you know, your sons don't even want to talk to you anymore.
hmm
Yeah,
and
that
wow,
devastated me.
yeah, that's very devastating. I can only imagine. I have a family as well, and I wouldn't want to do anything to push them away. And this is something that you don't mean to do. You don't mean to push them
Right.
away. It is. It comes out, and sometimes you're conscious of it, and you're like, why
Yeah.
did I behave that way? And it is sometimes that filter just doesn't, it's not there any longer.
Right.
So, that's difficult. So your family supported you all the way through your initial treatment at the point of injury and your recovery. What did the first 6 months of your recovery after the point of injury look like, and what was beneficial and not beneficial at all?
Well, I was an inpatient, and I left Walter Reed, and they sent me back to Florida. So I was in Destin, Florida at the time, and it was a pity party basically. Poor Ben. You know, I found out where they hid the ice cream and the Laura Doone cookies, and I'd get in my wheelchair and wheel down to the freezer, and I'd load my lap up full of ice cream and cookies, as much as I could carry. Go back to my room and sit in front of ESPN and just sit there. Oh, poor Ben. You know, just putting on the weight, doing everything I could do that was counterproductive to healing. And
Mm-hmm.
no one was there to help me and tell me, "Hey, slow down, buddy." You
Yeah.
know,
Did you? And because it sounds like you were in some sort of depression, and you didn't you may or may not have
uh,
even been aware of depression if you had it
yeah.
before.
And I wouldn't
But
accept
like,
it.
how long were you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my wife was. Yeah, I think you're depressed. I would not accept that. You know, no, depression is not part of my. You know, who I am. I was
Right.
stronger than that. Was my attitude. But you
Yep.
have no control over it.
Sure. Yeah. I can attest to that. I mean, it crept up on me. I mean, years and years back. My wife. I've just
Right.
touch base and talk about things, and I'd be like, oh, this is bothering me, whatever. And she's like, I think you're depressed. And I was like, really? Like just much like yourself as a military person, you don't want to even admit that.
Right.
You're harder than that. You're mentally harder than that. You've been through things harder than that. And for me, I didn't recognize that depression. It kind of crept up over time, and coupled with anxiety, which made the depression better because it made this like
Absolutely.
circular feeling that nothing was going to get better. So yeah, how long did that depression last? And let's
Well,
segue that into how you found out about Livo2 and Mark Squibb.
well, depression lasts a long time. You know, month and year wise is hard to say because I refuse to accept that was part of me. You know, so when you're in denial, it can go on for years,
Sure.
and it was basically sitting around watching others disassociate themselves with me. That finally, you know, maybe my wife is telling the truth.
Right. Yeah. I mean, did you have anybody to talk to about these experiences? And not to get off track, but did you have any sort of community while you were going through this that was dependable?
Yeah.
And
Well,
you know what I mean? Like a lot of the Facebook groups that I see online they're really negative about getting better.
right.
They're almost like, hey, don't come in here with that, talk about us getting better. We can't cure that. You know what I mean? What was your community and support network outside of your family
Yeah.
during this process?
My, my military friends, were always calling. That was good, but over time they start stepping away. You know how, oh, okay, Ben's paralyzed. You know, at least in my head, I'm thinking, okay, nobody wants to be around the gimp, if you will. You know,
Sure.
but it was
Sure.
my attitude. It wasn't my injury.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was pushing them away.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's too easy to do that, right? Because
Right.
it's almost like it's a subconscious effort to remove these people from pain, and you being a source
Right.
of pain to them. You know, I've had to meditate on that a lot myself. Like, whoa, what am I doing? This almost seems intentional, and I don't want it to be intentional, but it is.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that push away. I mean, I did that to friends, everybody. You know, social media. I've deleted my Facebook page numerous times, but yeah, I mean, it's a hard road, and it's really difficult.
Absolutely.
Even some of the people who have those same, maybe some of the same experiences or similar or whatever, sometimes it's more difficult to be around them because they have the answer, right? It's like, you got to
Right.
do this, and it's like, okay, I don't want to be hounded. I want to be well. And
Yeah.
so I definitely know that feeling. But so you went through that period of depression. How did you find out about Mark Squibb and Live O2?
A good buddy of mine that I went to high school with, Dave Chambly, called
Mm-hmm.
me one day. He was following my story. I was doing hyperbaric oxygen at the time. And Dave asked, he said, Ben, have you ever heard of Live O2? I said, nope. So he said, check it out. So I started doing a little research, and a lot of the foundations were there. You know, so they were in line with the hyperbaric as far as delivery of oxygen and whatnot. And I like what I saw. But the one thing that hyperbaric didn't deliver that Live O2 did that I really enjoyed was exercise. You know, and like I said, when I was in Afghanistan, it was every day in the gym. I love working out. And so bringing that back to my life helped me feel whole again.
Sure. Yeah, I experienced that as well the other day when I was on it. I mean, it's exercise is instrumental, you know,
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons. But describe when you first saw the setup, and your first session, your first training session. Can you talk us through what that's like?
All right. Well, I was the day before, or a few days before. You know, I was out in my yard, walking around and trying to do some yard work. And let's just say I walked to the corner, carry a leaf or two to the corner, just trying to straighten up my yard. And I was winded, had zero energy. You know, and so then my system came in. I set it up, and I was going through the protocols, and I just kept pushing myself, pedaling harder. I figured the harder I pedal, the harder I work, the more I'll gain. You know, that mentality. So I did 2 or 3 sessions the first day I got it. Woke up early the next morning, you know, like I had a burst of energy.
Yeah.
Did another session, went out to the yard, mowed the entire yard. I hooked up I have a rake that I pull behind my tractor, pulled that and planted a seed. You know, I mean, I had energy for days.
Beautiful. And what
Yeah.
what type of what exercise machine were you using with the Livo 2? A
Recumbent
recumbent
bike.
bicycle,
Right.
right?
But yeah,
Okay.
because of my mobility issues and balance, I found that to be the safest thing for me.
Sure.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you can do the Livo 2 sessions, training sessions, totally relaxed.
Right.
Especially if you're not relaxed, obviously, because you're putting effort in. But as far as like physically, you're in a spot where you're not going to pass out and fall over to the side or anything like that,
Oh no,
especially on a recumbent
because you
bike.
control
So
the oxygen flow. Yeah.
right, yeah.
That's
So
another
talk us
thing.
through a
Yeah.
session. What did you do? So you get on the bike. What is your first?
Yeah.
What is
First
the first
session,
thing
I
you do?
I put the mask on, and there was nothing going on. You know. So then I realized I was on negative, the minus, which is, you know, the lower percentage of oxygenated air.
Mm-hmm.
So I flipped it up to positive, and the air quality just changed instantly. You know, it was nice, cool, cold air. Started
Mm-hmm.
breathing, and it felt great. I felt like my
Awesome.
lungs opened up. You know, you can
And you're
actually
able
feel
to
the air
easily
going in.
switch you're able to easily switch it from fill, which is that air that you were talking about, like that kind of stale, high altitude kind of air, versus the when you switch it over to the oxygen, which
Positive,
gives you that oxygen rich, and you found it
right?
really easy to control while you're doing the training.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
You know, just within a second, you're from, you know, low percentage of oxygen to a really high concentration of oxygen, And as you breathe it, you instantly perk up. At least I did. I felt, wow, a sense of happiness.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it made you want more, Yeah. It made me want to do it more.
Yep. No. I know the feeling. Taylor, one of our guys that works with us, Taylor Smith, I mean, he put me through just a 15-minute session. Right. And I mean, you're pedaling hard and you're at the point where you're on fill getting like that, not as much oxygen. And, like, oh, you only got 10 seconds left. And you're like in a panic mode almost. Your heart's beating in your head. Your lungs are like, am I going to be able to stay awake? And then that oxygen gets flipped, right? And it's just like this superb rush of, it's like when you're parched on a hot day drinking a nice cold glass of water, but this is what it's doing for your brain. Like, I just felt lightheaded, but the opposite of lightheaded. It was oxygenated.
That's a great analogy. That desert thirst, and you take that sip of water, your body really absorbs it. Same way with the oxygen. That was a great analogy, because when you flip over to that positive oxygen, your body's starving for it and just sucks it up. And you could actually feel it going in your lungs. It's a really nice feeling, at least on my side,
And your heart is pounding, trying to get that blood and really oxygen to your brain. So it's just pushing hard everywhere. And then you flood it with that oxygen while your body's in that mode. And it just hits you. It's instantaneous for the most part. And it's beautiful. And the after effects, I've done the training once. And for the rest of the day, I definitely felt the effects of it. I mean, I just felt better, more energetic, clear headed. My attitude was a lot better. I was ready to do some work. You know what I mean? It was just from one treatment. So that's exciting that you're doing it for a year and a half or more than.
I'm glad you brought up the mental part, because mentally, mental clarity is so much better. I know on my side, I'm more focused. I'm able to control that anger, redirect it. So
sure. Speaking of mentally, how hard was it for you to go from being as affected as long as you were and have been, to finding the LiveO2? What was your mindset, and what do you suggest the mindset of somebody who wants to train on LiveO2 be moving forward?
Don't rely on somebody else to fix you. If this is my mantra, do it yourself. If you rely on someone else, just like if I relied on someone to come over and cut my grass, it would be 10 feet high. So if I do it myself, I know it's going to get done. And the more effort I put in, the nicer my yard.
So you feel empowered to take control of the healing, then? You feel empowered to take control of your healing with the LiveO2 machine at your house?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in self-care before others care for me. So
you have to. It's like being on an airplane, and it's going down. You got to put the mask on yourself before you can put the mask on someone else, right?
That's right.
All right. That's beautiful. And Mark, do you have anything that you wanted to insert, or anything you wanted to touch as far as the interview?
Sure. Ben, I think that you kind of started with this, but a lot of people that end up in a situation where they've had an injury like you did, I mean, what we see is there's really two different timelines of response with LiveO2, which is, usually when you get off the first time, you feel like, wow, something happened. And then, that's basically a brain reoxygenation event. But then, just like you said, it's like, oh, okay, well, if you don't get it back in the first year, you're not getting it back. But you're 6 years post. So I think the message that, I'd like to get back, which is most of what you're learning and what's out there in terms of what the doctors and everybody says is not true. And, we have multiple, and we'll be doing another follow-up with Sean, who's also several years post-event and who's actually making progress. So I think that dig into, hey, man, don't give up, or you put that in your own words, but that's where I'd go. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. And I'm excited to work with the system myself some more. And I want to get it out there because I believe in it. I mean, the premise behind it makes total sense from what I'm experiencing myself with the brain, the brain fog, the memory is going away, just all those like cognitive things.
Right.
And like you said, like you said, and Mark said, you're 6 years post and you're still rocking that thing. And like you swear by it. I mean, that is you can't say that about any prescription drug, or you can't say that
Yeah.
about group therapy or any of these things that are the norm, so to speak. It's just like putting a Band-Aid on a sucking chest wound. And we want to
Right.
we want to surgically close that wound, instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it and changing it from time to time. So, yeah, definitely, Ben. I appreciate you
Well,
getting on today and telling your story. And also,
no worries.
before we go, we talked a lot on mentally what it's done for you, and you talked a little bit about physically, about your hand. What other physical improvements have you seen incrementally along your path to of training and healing yourself?
Oh, all right. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain when you're paralyzed on the side, or to someone who's never been in that situation. But
The
you
metrics
lose
are
a lot
different,
of
right?
right. You lose a lot of sensations and feeling and whatnot. So as you can imagine, and a lot of that has come back. The lightest touches now, I can feel when my dogs walk past me. When before they could run me over and I wouldn't even know it until I was on the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, so little bitty things, they're very minute, might not even raise an eye to someone else, but to someone living it. Yeah, it's
Sure, absolutely.
pretty incredible. So
So
and
what do you do day to day, Ben? Like, besides train on LiveO2, what do you do? What does Ben do?
well, I take classes, and that's another. Taking classes, I can really tell that my brain's functioning a lot better because I'm always on top of things, never late on assignments. I understand the data right off the bat, so I'm able to process information really good.
That's beautiful.
And
The VA, the college, what do they call it? The Montgomery GI Bill, or the
right,
9/11s fund.
yeah,
That has a shockingly low penetration rate by veterans who go in, and then even more so a completion rate by those who do penetrate those benefits.
right,
And I'm curious if a lot of veterans don't do that because, one, they don't feel like they can handle that workload, both
right.
physically or mentally and time wise. You know what I mean? And do they quit because they just don't have the cognitive flexibility or horsepower anymore to continue on with college? So this touches so many different things, and
Imagine,
to
Ty.
enrich people's lives. It's crazy.
Yeah. Imagine you're sitting in a doctor's office and he tells you you're fresh off your injury. I hate to tell you this, but you're nowhere near where you were before your injury. You're more at a third grade level.
Right.
I mean, and those are the words used to me, told to me by a
Yeah.
neuropsychologist. And that upset me. I said, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. Now, not everyone will have that attitude. Someone might just accept it. I'm an idiot. But I had to prove to myself that I was better than the third grade level. So
Yeah. So for those who are reluctant to seek other training, or they come across this video and they say, well, okay, yeah, there's millions of things. How is this gonna help me? What do you tell those people? What do you tell the people that are really reluctant to jump on and train with the LiveO2 system?
Believe in yourself, and self care, and the big thing is trust in yourself. Yeah,
Yeah,
keep
and with
I
this,
want to.
you put the power in
Can I,
your own hands. So that's great.
can I inject something here?
Go for it.
All right.
Yep.
What Ben did since he's had this experience is he's gone over, and how many of your therapists are coming to you for training now?
Well, yeah, one physical therapist, yeah, and
That's
multiple are
awesome.
interested.
They're going to spread the word, right?
Right. And I was invited to the therapy room last week to demonstrate the system. So I took it in and did a demo at the rehab center to introduce it to a
awesome.
larger center. Yep.
Perfect. So you're spreading that word.
Absolutely.
Well, and the other thing that you kind of comes in is these therapists, they spend all day, every day working with these, injured people, and they have never seen anybody recover and continue to recover like they're seeing with Ben. And they're all asking the question, like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's happened is just watching, all these people watching Ben recover, they're like, there's something here I've got to learn. And then the other thing that I think gets in, Ben, you've worked with quite a few, I'll call it peers that have had issues. How have you seen your peers that you've worked with personally to help, come along?
I've seen some really good results. with a guy who was told by the VA he couldn't work or go back to school. Well, he went back to school, finished his degree, and is working in the medical field now. And it all started with Live 02.
Awesome.
Didn't you have some feedback from his wife about, how his home life changed?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she came up and thanked me. Yep.
That's a great story. I mean, you're not just touching one person by curing or healing somebody. You're touching a lot of people. You're touching society.
I mean, that's a whole family there.
Yep. Levels, so. Absolutely. What's your 1 year and 5 year goals? Do you have any goals that you want to attain?
Oh, absolutely. Well, just recently, I just earned my master health and wellness coach certification. In February, I'll take the medical board exam for it to become a nationally board certified. And what I want to do is open my own practice and introduce people to Live 02 through the practice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on all that.
I appreciate it.
That's a great goal. I mean, that's life changing. When you find something that works for you that you can use yourself, and you want to spread the word, and that's what the direction you want to take your life. That's awesome. That story needs to be told too, and that's just awesome. Well, Mark, anything else? Ben, do you have anything else on your mind that you just want to tell the audience, or that I can pick out from any of my questions or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, I could talk for days, and Mark knows this. But yeah, I think we covered all the bases. Like I said, the big thing is I'm 6 years and still doing my thing. 6 years out and still pushing forward. So.
Yeah, the recovery looks really promising for you, and congratulations on that.
And when you're in a state of depression, it's hard to do that. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it almost takes intervention of some sort to get yourself out of that hole. So, all righty. Unless we have anything else that I missed, I'm sure I could ask 20, 30 more questions. But Mark, you got anything I need to touch on?
No, I think we're good. I mean, I wanted to let you kind of mostly drive, and sounds like we're there. So, if you're ready, I'll go ahead and discontinue recording, and we'll flash and come back and set up for the next round. Stand by.
All right. Well, Mark and Todd, thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, Ben. It's been a pleasure.